5 things that every JavaScript developer should know, or 5 kind of tips that are going to help you write your JavaScript code. So the first one we're going to talk about is merging arrays. And I think the easiest way to do this is using the spread operator. So if you look at this example here, on line 5, I create an array with the values of 1 and 2 in them. And then on line 6, I create another array with the values of 3 and 4. Now to merge these together, I can open up a pair of square brackets here, and I can use the triple dot operator, the spread operator, and prepend that to the label of my array. And then I can separate that by a comma, and I can do the same thing for my second array. And this is going to spread all the values of the first array into this new array, as well as all the values of the second array into this new array. And if I run this, you can see that this will merge both of these arrays. For the second JavaScript thing that you should know, it is copying arrays and objects with the spread operator. So here on line 19, I create an array. On line 20, I create an object. And then right here on line 22, you can see that I create a copy of an array. I open up a pair of square brackets, and then I use the triple dot operator and prepend that to the label of my array. And this will create a brand new copy of this array right here and place it within these square brackets. So it's spreading this array in between these square brackets here. And then the very same thing you can do for an object. So I use the triple dot operator and I prepend that to the label of my object, and this will spread all of the properties and values of this object into this new object here. So this creates a copy of the array and object. And just to show that this is a copy, I'm going to take my original array and I'm going to push a new value in that and take my original object and add a new property to it. And then when I run this and I console log the copies of my array and object, you're going to see that those remain the same. Those will not change because they are copies of the arrays and objects. For the third JavaScript tip, it is using objects as arguments. So the benefits of using an object as arguments to a function is that it makes the order of your parameters not matter anymore, which is kind of nice. Also, it can be more descriptive, meaning you have a property and a value, and the property name usually describes the value that you're using. And then also you potentially get better autocomplete within your code editor. So the way that you could do this is you could create a function, and then within your function parameters here, you could just destructure properties from an object. So I open up a pair of curly braces, and I expect this function to take an object with the properties of name, day, and time. And then when I call this function, like I do here, I can pass it an object with a name, day, and time. And you can see here in this example, I could pass this name, day, and time in any order that I want to, and all I need to do is pass an object here that matches the object properties I'm going to destructure here, which can make this a little bit more readable and give me a bit better autocomplete and things like that. So if I run this code here, you're going to see that this does indeed work. Write code every day, all day long. The fourth JavaScript thing that you should know that can definitely help you out from time to time is how to generate infinite sequential IDs within JavaScript. So you can use a generator to actually do this. So here on line 54, this is where I initialize my generator function. So it's a function, and then you put a star after the function keyword. And then I initialize this function, and then I effectively have a while loop that just yields an incrementing ID. So 1 until just an infinite number there. And then I create my generator object. And then when I call my generator object and I get the .next value, you're going to see what this is going to do is it's going to continuously increment and generate new sequential IDs. And for the fifth and final thing that's helpful to know in JavaScript is using JSON, but formatting it with spaces. So in this example here, I have an object called YouTube channel, and it has the different properties and values that you can see here. And then here on line 76, I define a constant called JSON, and I assign that to the value of calling JSON.stringify. And when you call JSON.stringify, you can pass a third argument that is the number of spaces that you want within your JSON. So if I console log my JSON here, you're going to see a much more readable JSON that's outputted to my console. So right here, you see a nice kind of indented JSON. But if I don't include those arguments, you can see that this will make it much more difficult to read here. as it's all squeezed together. So you can pass a third argument to the JSON.stringify function to make things more readable. So thanks for tuning in to these 5 things that you should know within JavaScript. Stay tuned for another 5 things in my next episode, and I'll see you in that next one.